This is my iPhone 14 Pro, 128 gigabytes in the gold finish. And it has been my phone for the last 8 months now. My daily phone that I literally take with me everywhere I go. While it has been my favorite phone that I've ever owned, it is not the perfect phone. So today I thought I'd delve into my experiences over the last 8 months, and I'll tell you, is it worth getting in 2024? Let's get into the video.
I'm feeling like Cardean. There's no whip, I got a rocket. I'm looking like Hakeem. Elijah want me, I wonder what y'all seen. Me, myself, and I, self-efficient, I'm too extreme. Took the road, less travel, them lights, it's all green. Hold up.
So like I said, this is the iPhone 14 Pro. I did choose the gold finish, which feels like the most classy and luxurious style to me. Now, you might be thinking, Isaiah, why are you reviewing the iPhone 14 Pro in 2024 when we literally have the iPhone 16 around the corner coming in September? I'm here to tell you that the second-hand phone market is actually booming right now, and there's a lot of people in the boat of wanting to upgrade their iPhone but not necessarily wanting the latest one that's out. So buying the middle ground and finding that sweet spot of the iPhone 14 just sort of makes sense for a lot of people. Throughout this video, I'm going to talk to you about how powerful this phone really is, the pro camera system that's on the back that you get with these 3 lenses, and if it is really worth it. Talk through the battery life that's on this phone, if it can last you through the entire day, and also the new features that came with this phone, or some might even call them gimmicks, which is the always on display and also the dynamic island that you get with this phone. Okay, so after doing some research online and scrolling through pages like Reddit, the general consensus on the reviews of this phone is overall it's a great phone. There was one common issue that I did find from a lot of people, and actually once I thought about it, I found out that, I noticed it too when I changed from an iPhone 11 to this iPhone 14 Pro, and that was how heavy this phone was. When I first picked it up, I did notice that it was a little heavier than usual than my iPhone 11. I would say once you get used to it, you barely even notice it anymore, and I wouldn't say that it's a deal breaker for me. However, for some people who like to hold their phone maybe above their face while they're in bed and stuff, maybe your hand's getting tired or something, so it is something to think about. This is what the phone looks like outside of the case. It has got this aluminum shiny finish on the sides there as well, which does get a lot of fingerprints on it, but I actually don't mind. And I'm rocking a screen protector on the front, but this is like a frosted glass on the back. It doesn't look like shiny glass, but it actually is glass, so if you do drop it, you will probably see cracks and stuff in the back. So I would definitely recommend rocking a case on this phone. I just got this cheap case off Amazon, but with all the phones that I spend big money on anyways, I'm always going to be rocking a case on to protect my investment. The iPhone 14 Pro packs a pretty powerful punch in terms of its performance. With Apple's A16 Bionic chip, it still runs smoothly and is quick after 8 months of usage, which I'm quite happy with. The Face ID on this thing is super fast and reliable, and I almost never have to enter my passcode. The one downside in the performance that I have noticed with the iPhone 14 Pro is its performance on Apple CarPlay. At times I have experienced lag and Waze just not even wanting to work at all sometimes, but I do think that this issue could be more because of my car's head unit rather than the phone itself. But it is one of the things that I have experienced with my usage of this phone. In my 8 months of usage, I haven't experienced any glitches or lags in the phone itself, so that is good to see. Coming from the LCD display on my iPhone 11 to ProMotion Super Retina XDR display on the iPhone 14 Pro, you definitely notice the difference. I just love how it looks when I'm scrolling on this phone and interacting with it. It just looks so much more smoother. The refresh rates go up to 120 Hz, and I thoroughly enjoy how smooth and fast everything looks. I'm not one to watch a whole lot of media or content on this phone. I usually just use my Mac or my iPad, but it is nice to know that I have OLED technology in my pocket when I'm on the go to watch Netflix or YouTube. Let's talk cameras, because honestly, that is one of the biggest reasons why people get into phones these days. And I have to say, these cameras are amazing. I can literally use this phone as our on-the-go run-and-gun camera if I don't have my DSLR camera on me and I just want to take some quick pictures. So let's walk through the lenses that this phone comes with. You do get the 48 megapixel one-time zoom lens that is 24mm focal length. You also get a 12 megapixel ultra wide lens, which is 13mm in focal length. And last but not least, you also get the telephoto lens, which is 3 times zoom. The phone can zoom up to 15 times digitally, but honestly, that is super grainy, and I honestly never find myself using it. I myself mainly use the 1 times and 3 times zooms on this phone, and I get stunning results with it all the time. The low light performance on this phone is also super impressive thanks to the new photogenic engine on this phone and the bigger sensors that it comes with. It just handles the darkness and the low light really well. Taking pictures and taking photos on this phone, you're gonna get some really good results, especially with the capability to shoot raw images and to be able to edit them in a high dynamic range in like apps like Lightroom and stuff. As for videos, it's no secret that iPhones have the best video taking capability on the market by far over Samsung. They are better at taking videos. Maybe though Samsung does have a little bit better photo taking abilities than iPhone, but you guys can all argue about that down in the comments below. What I'm saying though is the video taking capabilities on iPhones these days are insane, and the iPhone 14 Pro did not disappoint. It can shoot 4K videos at 60 frames per second, producing beautiful results. The 14 Pro also supports ProRes videos, which is Apple's version of high quality footage for professional video editing. Now, in my experience and my usage of this phone, I actually haven't had the need to use the ProRes feature of this phone because the default 4K video footage that you get out of the normal video mode is already so satisfying. To shoot 4K video ProRes, you'll actually need a phone with more than 128 gigabytes of storage, and the next step up is 256 gigabytes of storage. With this one, I can only shoot 1080p HD in ProRes mode just because I only have the 128 gigabytes of space. Another thing to consider is if you are going to be using this phone to be shooting ProRes files, they do take up to 30 times more space than your typical video file. A new feature on the video recording capabilities of the iPhone 14 Pro is the action mode. This is just basically a supercharged stabilization feature that you can turn on if you have a lot of movement in your shot, helping make your video look stable. It's a cool feature and it's nice knowing I've got this feature, but in my day-to-day life, honestly, I have to say I haven't used it yet because the stabilization in the default video is already looking super good. I can confidently say that this is my first iPhone that will last me an entire day, as long as I'm not using the camera all day. The cameras on this phone are crazy good, don't get me wrong, but recording 4K videos and taking high quality raw photos consumes the battery the most, which is actually weird to me because with all the power and camera capability that's packed into this phone, you would expect the battery to be able to remain stable while shooting content. It also gets quite warm while shooting 4K video for long periods of time, but never too hot to touch. Other than that, using this phone for your daily tasks such as emailing, text messaging, watching videos, listening to music, and everything else in between, with the occasional photo or video here and there, you can definitely get far with this phone. I've seen mixed reviews online, but in my personal experience, the iPhone has never died on me in the middle of the day or in the middle of a shoot. It's definitely reliable and a big improvement from the previous iPhones. So the always on display is the new feature that came with the iPhone 14 Pro. So basically what that means is the phone is on right now. When I press the off button, it's going to turn off, but it's still going to be staying on with this always on display. And basically it just shows your time and any widgets that you have, and also any notifications that's going to come. It'll dim the screen and only use 1 nit of brightness. So while it looks really nice and pretty, it is also super helpful. For instance, while I'm just walking past, I can quickly glance at my lock screen and see what the temperature is outside or see what the time is. And you might think, Isaiah, you're telling me that the always on display is only good so you can quickly glance and check the time? Well, you're wrong, because it does so much more than that. For instance, let me tell you, it's so useful for when I'm cooking and my hands are all dirty with food and stuff, and I can just see if I have a timer on, it's going to show the timer in the always on display. When I'm studying, I can quickly see if there's a text or notification that I need to check, if it's important, or if I can just ignore it and keep studying. So it helps boost my productivity. I will, however, say that it can get quite distracting if you're trying to focus for a long time. So if I'm trying to study and I have my phone face up on my desk and I'm getting bare notifications that are coming through, it can be quite distracting. And the easy way to solve that, obviously, is to just turn your phone over or put your phone out of the room. But that's why we have focus modes. You can just put on do not disturb or a custom focus mode that's going to get rid of all that for you and still have the usefulness and effectiveness of Apple's always on display with this phone. So thank you, Apple, for that. And the always on display is a feature that I cannot live without on a phone anymore. It's just really nice to have, but it's also super helpful because I can always glance at my phone just for information whenever I need it. So that's the always on display. Gimmick or feature, it's a feature for me that I cannot live without. So yeah, let me know down what you guys think though in the comments. One of the biggest reasons and biggest selling points for me personally as to why I bought the iPhone 14 Pro, and that's this new dynamic island. It sort of moves around with different activities that you're doing on your phone. This is one of those things where you think, is it an actual useful feature? Am I going to use it in my everyday life? Is it an actual proper selling point, or is it just a gimmick? And I kind of got persuaded when I was buying this, and I got lost in all the marketing. I bought the Pro because of this feature, and I have to say I am severely underwhelmed with what this thing can do. It has so much potential, but a lot of the apps can't even work with the dynamic island. If you set a timer on your phone through Apple's timer, it's gonna pop up into the dynamic island, and you can see while you're doing other things on your phone how much time is left on your timer. Great, but it also doesn't work with stopwatches. That was an opportunity missed by Apple. Your song that you're playing or podcast that you're listening to will pop up into the dynamic island. You can long press on that dynamic island and control the playback through there. If you're using Apple Maps, you do get turn-by-turn directions. And that's a funny thing with the Apple Maps thing, right? I can put the Apple Maps turn-by-turn directions on as to where I'm going. But at that point, that only works on the home screen. It's not gonna work on the lock screen. So if I'm on the home screen with the dynamic island and using that for maps, why would I not just open the Maps app where I can get a lot more information and an actual picture of the map where I'm at? Like, Apple, you're not thinking this through. It seems more like a gimmick, and it has so much more potential. Like, for instance, notifications don't even come through on this. I'll get a notification on my phone. It's going underneath the dynamic island. It's not even showing up in the dynamic island, which would be so good to see. Like, that's such a big opportunity missed. It is cool because I can see so much potential with it. When I get a phone call, it'll pop up in the dynamic island. That's great. Do that with notifications and we have a lot more use with it. Make it more interactive. Bring more life to the dynamic island, because right now it's really sucky. So yeah, that's my rant. If you're going to buy a phone because of just purely the dynamic island and you want to get one of the newer iPhones, no, don't do that. It's not worth it. But in saying that, I don't regret buying this iPhone. Everything else on it outweighs the negativities of the dynamic island. So I would love to see a lot more third-party apps being able to use it as well. Apple Maps uses the dynamic island, but apps like Waze, which I prefer because I can see cops and cameras and stuff on the road in live time, that doesn't use the dynamic island. So bit of a mismatch there. Hopefully, as Apple releases its updates in WWDC and whatnot, maybe we can see some improvements there. So yeah, that was my review of the iPhone 14 Pro. I honestly cannot see myself getting a new phone for the next 3 or 4 years unless I'm really wanting to get the new AI features that are coming out with Apple, but I'm yet to see if those are even worth it. It could be just another gimmick or feature. But yeah, I definitely would recommend this phone if you're looking to upgrade and not wanting the latest iPhone that's on the market. This is a really good sweet spot. And in terms of getting a Pro or just a standard iPhone, it really depends on what you want out of an iPhone. If you do want the extra camera capabilities, this phone does take a lot better stunning photos than the standard phones does. You also get a bit more of a better battery life. So yeah, that's been my review and my experience. Let me know if you guys are gonna get one, if you guys had one. Let me know, because I genuinely would love to hear what you guys think. I've been Isaiah Martini. Thank you so much for tuning in. There's a lot more tech content coming on this channel as I am getting into my tech side of my degree. If you like the sounds of that, please subscribe, give this video a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one.